Hello, friends and members of the Creation Research Society. Dr. Brown here. Welcome to another installment of our Member Spotlight. The purpose of the Creation Research Society is to connect Bible-believing, science-loving individuals from all over the world. And the purpose of these spotlights is for you to learn and for me to learn about our membership, who's actually part of the Creation Research Society. So today we are joined by a fairly recent member, and I'll have Cameron Ward fill you in on that. But Cameron, he's a PhD student in engineering at Liberty University and has recently joined the society, recently attended one of our meetings a couple years back. And so Cameron, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell us, first, how you got plugged into science. What was your love for science, and how'd you end up as an engineer?
Yeah, so I've always loved science. It's just kind of a natural thing growing up and whatnot, that I've been probably mathematically minded and scientifically minded for a while. I got an undergrad degree in mathematics, and so always have loved math. Some things happened after I graduated where life took an unexpected turn, and I ended up working at an online school, K-12 online school, and so I've been there for a while, and the Lord's blessed that. But I got to a point where I said, Lord, I feel like you've called me. I've always felt a calling from the Lord to go into creation research. I said, Lord, I felt like you called me to go into creation research, but I don't see a path from here to there. And so I found out you guys were holding a conference at Liberty University, which is a pretty short commute for me. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity. That's when I joined the society. I think that was 2021 or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I joined the society at that point, came to the conference, and I remember the plenary session. Andy McIntosh was talking, and the Lord was just pulling on my heart that night. And it was about nothing that Andy was talking about, but it was to basically to go into creation research. Like, this is a transition time that I want you to start taking steps in that direction. So I remember going and sitting outside on some steps and saying, okay, about 10 o'clock at night. And I said, okay, Lord, I hear you pulling on my heart, but how do I do this? And he said, talk to Mark Horstmeyer. So that's what I did. I went and talked to him. And of course, he's a dean, or he was a dean at the time at Liberty. And he said, okay, well, long story short, he basically said, well, I have a PhD research project for you, and I've been praying for somebody for 5 years to take up this. And he said, well, I just can't find anybody who has the math background. And of course, I had an undergrad degree in math. So that worked out really well. The Lord dropped that right in my lap. And literally, the meeting with Horstmeyer ended with him saying, can you start yesterday? Because the first class that you really need started yesterday. So that's what we
That
did.
sounds like Mark. So for Mark, as you may know, he is a board member for the Creation Research Society. So I've had the privilege of getting to know him just over the past year. I'm very new in this. In fact, you've been a member longer than I've been a member. I joined in 2023, summer of 2023, when I attended another scientific conference like the CRS conference. It was the International Conference on Creationism. So Cameron, you're a good example about the purpose of the society, because here you are, a math guy, and I am like the opposite of a math guy. In fact, I can't stand math. I'm a biologist. That kind of comes with the territory. And biology is, we don't focus on numbers maybe quite enough. So that's great, because then if I have a math question, I can go to someone like you, and if you have a biology question, you can come to someone like me. So that's the purpose of the society. Cameron, so how do you hope to be used in creation science? What's your vision? What's your skill set? How can the Lord use you?
Yeah, well, probably the best way to answer that is to tell a little bit more of the story there even.
Sure.
So I went to get a PhD in engineering. My dad's an engineer, and I always said I'd never become an engineer because I always thought it was boring. I just envisioned engineering just being people designing a bunch of random looking parts, and building a metal part and putting it into a machine somewhere. Now that I'm into it, I found out that that's so far from the truth. But um, what I want to do is actually going into astrophysics. And so it's kind of a unique pairing that I'm doing with my research topic for the PhD, is I'm actually applying continuum mechanics to relativity. Tycho Tanev has done some work on this as well, and he's published some papers. And so I'm literally following his work and building on that model, the cosmic fabric model, and also applying, building a parallel between material science and astrophysics. Looking at a model of the ether, modeling an ether in the universe. I know there's some controversy on
Sure.
CRSNet about that. That's all right. That's good. But this is building an ether model that sees the universe as a four-dimensional hypersheet, and looking at the mechanics of the sheet and how that relates to relativity.
That sounds like it's above my pay grade. I tell you, I listen to those math people, math and modeling and kind of the high level physics. And I'm just glad to know that you guys are part of the team.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for giving us some of your time today. Can you close out with a verse maybe that the Lord has given you that's guided you over your years in science?
Yeah, I think probably one of my favorite verses is 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness." There are definitely times where I and probably all of us have felt weak and feel unqualified. But that verse reminds me that our weakness qualifies us for dependence on God.
Well, that is a great way to end this conversation. And I believe you are part the future leaders, one of the future leaders scholars. That's this program that we have at CRS. So for students out there, grad students, undergrad students, just so you know, this CRS membership is free while you're a student, because we want to raise up that next generation and help you through your training. Cameron, thanks for taking time today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. And if you are a science-loving, Bible-loving Christian out there with a science background, you should be a member of the Creation Research Society. We would love to have you part of this movement.